Full disclosure alert, full disclosure alert, full disclosure alert. By the time you see this, the Confederations Cup final will be over, and hopefully my prediction was right. I'll have finished my charity game in Seattle, and hopefully I dominated. And I'll now be driving to Whistler, Canada for a quick vacation with the family. So follow me on Snapchat at SimmyJonrad. It's CIMMYJONRAD. I just flipped my initials, but it's pronounced Simmy, not Kimmy. And only 2 people in the world actually call me that consistently. Landon Donovan, who you might have heard of before, and Matt Reese, who's my goalkeeper in college and in MLS for a long time. So if you want to join that list and call me Simmy, you are more than welcome. Also, Mike K, Mikko, and I are not going to leave you hanging this week when I'm taking a brief vacation. So you'll be excited to know that 2 career mode episodes will be dropping this week, and you're welcome. And a special skill check presented by AT&T, where I try to take down one of the world's best freestylers in foot tennis, and you're just gonna have to wait to see what happens. And of course, this video, my last ever video in New York City, which makes me a little sad because I've really loved living here. But it's time for a new adventure, and that's okay too. Sometimes change is good. Breath of fresh air, new scenery. I'm from California, it's going back to California, so I'm going back to Cali. But for the first time ever, and I'm not sure why I haven't done it before, I said to myself, F it, let's do another preview. And this time it's for one of my favorite competitions in the world, the Copa Libertadores. Which for those of you not in the know or have heard of it but don't really understand what's going on, the Copa Libertadores is the Champions League of South America, and the Copa Sudamericana is their Europa League. They just finished the group stages, of which there were 8 groups. The top 2 in each group go into the round of 16, and then the 3rd place team in each group go to the Copa Sudamericana. Does that sound familiar to everybody in Europe? It should. Then they have a draw, minus Luis Figo and any warm balls conspiracy theories about fixing the games, so a certain club plays or avoids playing another certain club. Though, let's be honest, I'm sure that happens in South America, who are known for some sketchy shit too. And actually, here's proof. Bayern Munich is playing Arsenal in the round of 16 of the Copa Libertadores as well, which is what a crazy world we live in. How do they make that happen? I'm just kidding. But before I break down all 8 of the matchups and give you some predictions, let me offer you up some fun facts. 1, this is the 58th edition of the tournament, which started in 1960. 2, Atlético Nacional from Colombia are the defending champions, but they got eliminated in the group stages. And I don't think they say no mamis in Colombia, but no mamis. 3, Independiente from Argentina are the most successful club in the history of the competition with 7 titles, but Brazil is the most successful country with 10 of its clubs winning the trophy at least once. 4, Boca Juniors from Argentina and Peñarol from Uruguay have both been to the final 10 times, which is the most of any club, but Boca can only win 6 of those 10. Come on, Boca, what's up? And Peñarol can only win 5. Sucks to be you, Peñarol. Not as good as Boca Juniors. 5, Alberto Spencer, who made his debut in 1960 with Peñarol, still holds the all-time goal-scoring record with 54 goals in 87 games. And finally, number 6, the leading goal scorer of this current tournament with 8 goals is Alejandro Chumacero, who plays for Bolivian club The Strongest. And yes, I am not joking, that is the name of their club, The Strongest, which means I found myself a new favorite club. What a name! But enough of those motherfucking fun facts. Let's get to these matchups, starting with the top seed Atlético Mineiro from Brazil versus the number 15 seed Jorge Wilstermann from Bolivia. I can't even say it right. But yes, it's a team versus one man, but I'm really feeling Wilstermann's chances after how he managed the group stages. He's not going to be an easy person to beat, I guarantee you. Also, just to catch you up, they give every team that gets into the knockout round a seeded number based on their performance in the group stages, which is based on points earned, goal difference, goals scored, away goals scored, and then finally, if it's needed, I guess for some tie-breaking reasons, they're going to go to their CONMEBOL ranking. And then those top 8 seeds are put in pot 1, and then the bottom 8 seeds are put in pot 2, and then they draw one from pot 1 to play against a team from pot 2, and then that's how, you guys got this? Are we good? Pretty simple once we kind of break it down, right? Yeah, I think we got this. Anyway, Atlético Mineiro not only got the number 1 seed, they also got put in the bottom half of the bracket so that they won't face a fellow Brazilian team until the final, and I think that's in their best interest because sometimes facing off against a familiar opponent when you're the favorite to win because you're the number 1 seed doesn't always work in your favor, because now you have something to lose, whereas those other teams have everything to gain. I mean, that's how I see it in my head. So I think this is going to be a big deal for them to avoid all of the Brazilian teams. However, the work is going to come on the road because Jorge Wisterman won all 3 of his group games at home in the high altitude of Bolivia. So if they can get a result there, they should be good in the second leg at home. So my prediction is Atlético Mineiro takes down the one-man team. And up next, it's the teams that will potentially face Atlético Mineiro in the next round. River Plate from Argentina, the hated rivals of Boca Juniors, versus Guarani from Paraguay. 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 The last time these two met was in the semifinals of this competition in 2015, which River Plate went on to win en route to winning the trophy. And since that wasn't that long ago, I think they're going to be very familiar with each other's strengths and weaknesses. But River's attack, which is masterminded by their manager Marcelo Gallardo, who, if you guys remember, played in 2 World Cups for Argentina. Well, they scored the 2nd most goals in the group stages, and I think that's going to overwhelm Guarani's biggest strength. Guarani sounds like a really high-end Greek yogurt here in this country. But their biggest strength, Guarani or Chobani, is their defensive organization. But I just think that Rivers is going to be too much. They're going to overwhelm them, and Rivers going to get through 3-1. And now we have 2 other teams in the bottom half of the bracket. Emelec from Colombia versus San Lorenzo from Argentina. Now, I don't love San Lorenzo as much as the current Pope does, but I've always had a lot of respect for them after I got to play against the club in Buenos Aires a long time ago. And that was mainly because I really appreciated the style they were striving to play. They were so good, and they moved so well as a group. Unfortunately, that San Lorenzo team from the past is much better than this inconsistent one that is currently on the field, where they're 7th in the league, and even though they won their group, it wasn't very convincing. They scored 8 goals, they gave up 8 goals, including getting smoked by Flamengo 4-0. And fortunately for them, Flamengo could only get to the Copa Sudamericana. So I like the more steady and more consistent Emelec to do the business over 2 legs. And rounding out the last matchup in the bottom half of the bracket, it's my new favorite club, the Strongest, versus Lanús from Argentina. Now, unfortunately, the Strongest weren't even the strongest in their group. Santos actually finished on top. But they have 2 of the strongest and highest scorers in this competition on their team, and the already mentioned Alejandro Chumacero, who has 8 goals, and Matias Alonso, who has 5 goals and 5 assists. But Lanús had the best defense in the group stages, only giving up 3 goals in 6 games, and they've lost only once since April. So sadly, I think the Strongest are gonna probably have to change their name to the Almost Strongest after they lose to Lanús 3-2 over 2 legs. And now let's head up to the upper half of the bracket, and Godoy Cruz from Argentina taking on Grêmio from Brazil. Godoy Cruz. Is this another man playing by himself, or is it a team? I think it's a team because it's participated in only its 4th ever Copa Libertadores, and this is only the 2nd time they've made it to the knockout rounds. So I'd like to think they're playing with house money, which means they have absolutely nothing to lose. Plus, they're a young team, which makes them think that they're capable of anything. We can do it. We can do it. Which means I fear for Grêmio a bit. But Grêmio is a very good team with some very good players, like 24-year-old attacker Luan, who has 4 goals and 6 assists in 10 Brasileiro games this season, which has Grêmio 2nd in the table, only 4 points behind league leaders Corinthians, or Corinthians. I like to say it like the Brazilians say it, Corinthians. So I think Grêmio, given their current form and how they're playing, I think they pull this out, but barely, 3-2 over 2 legs. And now we have the 2 teams who could potentially face Grêmio in the next round. It's Nacional from Uruguay and Botafogo from Brazil. And you know what? Let's start with a motherfucking fun fact for you. Straight off the top, Nacional have qualified for this competition for 20 straight years, which is a huge accomplishment, but they haven't won it during that time span, which we could argue makes them the Arsenal of South America. However, in fairness to them, for that insult, and it's got to be an insult, right? They have won this competition 3 times in 1971, 1980, and 1988. So they're not completely Arsenal, but this current trend of theirs sure feels like it. So I'm gonna go with Botafogo in this one, despite the fact that they only scored 6 goals in their 6 group games and barely qualified, because it's round of 16, and if you're likened to Arsenal, that's just what happens. And up next, it's the reigning league champions of Ecuador, Barcelona, versus the reigning league champions of Brazil, Palmeiras. Despite Barcelona not being the Barcelona, they were the first team in the group stages to qualify for the knockout rounds while beating Botafogo and Estudiantes on the road, which is no easy feat, and they should be applauded for that. But I don't think they have the quality to hang with Palmeiras over 2 legs. I really don't. And Palmeiras has finally gotten into a good rhythm in their league, winning their last 3 games, 2 of which were on the road. So they've shown that they've got that steely resolve. They can deal with some adversity when things get tough. So this one will be close, but not that close. And I think Palmeiras pulls it out 4-2. And finally, last but not least, it's a matchup between 2 Brazilian clubs, Atletico PR or Paranense, I can't say it, and Santos. Now, Atletico PR qualified for the round of 16 in the very last minute of its very last group game. So that's the type of emotion and luck that can propel a team to make a deep run in a tournament. And after a very slow start to their season, Atletico have won 4 straight league games, so they are in terrific form. So good. But Santos is Santos. It's Neymar's former club, it's Pelé's former club, it's Carlos Alberto's former club, and if you don't know who he is, look him up because he was amazing. So they're going to have some talent on Santos' team, but they just fired their manager last month, so now it's going to be up to their new guy, Lavir Colpi, to lead them to the promised land, but I don't think that he will. I think it's too much too soon, and I think Atletico PR is going to win this 4-3 over 2 legs. So alright, that is it. That is all I got. So make sure you guys watch these games if you can, because it's a fantastic competition, it really is. And then we can revisit my always right predictions after the second leg finishes at the beginning of August, which is crazy that there is 1 month between leg 1 and leg 2. I just defies logic, but that's gonna have to be a discussion for another time. Also, if you get more predictions right than I do, you're gonna be entered to win a Warmballers t-shirt. That's right, a Warmballers t-shirt, any color that you want, any size, you can live wherever, and I'll make sure it gets to you on your doorstep. So good luck, later.